What I'd like to do, introduce myself to you guys. It's actually weird coming in here because the last time I've been in this school is when you guys knew all the old windows. It was before they renovated it. So you guys are spoiled with the facility you got right now. But I really want to get into what really motivates me is my passion to build an organization. And a lot of what I've built and what I'm trying to build was based around some of the coaches I've had right out of Biddeford High School. So if you guys remember, you guys may not, but like Mike Landry, you guys ever hear the name, one of the best football coaches in the state of Maine. Ron Cody, I had Ed Flaherty at USM. His son Ryan Flaherty is now with the Baltimore Orioles. You guys know Ryan Flaherty. So I do want to get in a lot. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I want to get into kind of the things I've ran across running my own organization, kind of how I built it, and what work we have left to do in that. So as Mr. Heel outlined, so I graduated from Biddeford in '91, and I'll be the first to admit, like, hey, you guys, what class are you guys? Are you guys sophomores?
Seniors.
Seniors, okay. So you guys pretty much have some idea of what you want to do. And, my senior year, I wanted to be a carpenter. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a carpenter. As things change, I went to USM, things started developing. And the one thing I'll tell you guys, and I'm going to talk a lot about this, is a lot of times what will differentiate your success once you get out of here is your work ethic. I can tell you right now that you can be the most talented person in the world. You can get the best grades. You can be a straight A student coming out of high school. You can be a straight A student coming out of college. And that probably means you get a good work ethic. But once you get into the real world, it is truly how do you win? How do you work nonstop towards your goal to be successful? Because if you go into the real world and you kind of just take it and you give half effort, that's what you're going to get. And life is very tough. I've been through a lot, Biddeford High School, 91, USM till 95, worked very hard in making sure I was putting myself in a good position. When I was in college, I never thought about being drafted at all. The only thing I knew how to do was to work very hard. And after my freshman year, I had a few hiccups in school, in college, and it made me realize that I have to be disciplined and I need to work extremely hard at what I'm doing. And my sophomore year is when I had a little bit more success. I would say that college turned me into a baseball player. I was always a good athlete, but I couldn't go to college and just do what I've been doing in high school or before that, because I never really concentrated on a specific area. I always played 3 sports. And I never spent the time. The technical instruction for baseball is very tough to get around here. There's just not a lot of people that have been through different steps. You guys are fortunate because now it's more prevalent around here. So my sophomore year, I talked to one of my assistant coaches who had played professional baseball, and I just asked him question after question after question. What are the scouts like? What are they looking for? And you can apply this to anything you do. Like if you want to be a carpenter like I was, you got to go to the best carpenter around, right? You got to go to the best carpenter around and say what made you successful, right? Because that's how you gain knowledge. If you just go blindly and you don't ask questions, you don't know what the keys to success are, you're not going to be successful right off. So I asked this coach and I pegged him. I said, hey, what are you doing? And I'd always been a hard worker. I lifted in the gym. I ran a lot. And the advice he gave me was just control what you can control, know what your weaknesses are, and work on them. So I was the player, and this kind of translates into what I'm doing now. I was the type of player that when practice was over, I went back in the gym. So when people were leaving for the day, my teammates, I was on the treadmill, or I was lifting weights, or I was studying, because I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up like I did my freshman year. So sophomore, junior, senior year, I started getting noticed because I was working hard. I was born and raised Granite Street Extension. You guys know where that is, right by Ray's Market, all the way down there. So in the winter months, when I wasn't playing baseball and I wasn't in the gym, I'd research how I got faster. And I was pretty fast, but I researched how can I get faster? Because I knew speed for me was my best asset. So I researched. You guys ever see these shoes? They get platform shoes. They get platforms on the front. I don't think they're very prevalent now, but back in the day, I always wanted to jump high. I wanted to be fast. So what I did was I'd be under the street light at 8 o'clock at night in the winter, and I'd be doing plyometrics because I wanted to work hard, and I wanted to separate myself from the other players, and I wanted to get noticed. So lucky enough, after my 95 year, a scout came up to me at one tournament, that's it. A major league scout from St. Louis came up to me and said, hey, I like what you're doing. Do you want to play baseball? Do you want to play at the next level? And I'm like, absolutely. You know, and at that time, what a scout's looking for, and this is important, as you search jobs and colleges and stuff, what does that scout want to hear? He doesn't want to hear, well, I want to make a lot of money. You know, I want to sign for a lot of money, right? Because then the scout's thinking, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sign this kid. His intentions might not be baseball. It might be more money driven. And the only thing I told him is I want a chance. I want to play ball. So waited a month before the draft. That was early May. The draft is in '95, beginning of June. And I was picked in the 66th round. So you might say, hey, 66 rounds. That's a lot of rounds. You're right. You know, I got drafted actually in the 44th round. It went 66 rounds. So I was like the 11th or 12th outfielder that St. Louis took that year. There's guys from Fresno State, you know, these big D1 schools that got drafted before me. So we went, it was an eye-opener, right? You're on your own, you're by yourself, you're filled with a lot of talent. And this applies, when you guys leave here, it doesn't apply just to what I did. It applies to everything you're doing. You're going to college, you want to be a pharmacist, well, guess what? How many more people want to be pharmacists? A lot, right? So you got to know your competition and really go after it. And I was lucky enough to play 5 years. I outlasted every single outfielder. I made it higher than any other outfielder that got drafted that year. And you know, time ran out on me, and I decided that I wanted to start a family, things like that. So I am married. I've been married to the same girl that I came to school with for over 20 years. I got 3 kids. 13, 10, and 8 years old. So it's a very hectic life. So after I got done with baseball, I knew I had to do something different, right? All my buddies had started jobs, making good money. They were, they were having kids. So my number one goal when I got done baseball was being successful in my career. The problem was I didn't know what my career was at that time. It's changed, right? I wanted to be a professional baseball player. Then all of a sudden that changed, and I said, okay, what am I going to do next? I just know that if you work hard at whatever you're doing. So I got into insurance. Now that changed from my senior year in high school, right? Because I wanted to be a carpenter, right? And that didn't pan out. But the one thing that I did is once I got into insurance, I worked harder than anyone else in my division. Because I said to myself, I'm fully vested in this. It may not be what I absolutely want to do, but I want to take care of what I can take care of, and that is effort level. So I work 12 hours a day. I worked 12 hours a day even though everyone else was getting out 8 hours. I wanted to learn more stuff. I really was very uncomfortable talking in front of people. I was pretty shy. Like I handle claims, so that's what I did. So Progressive Insurance, if you get in an accident, I was the guy you guys called and said, hey, I got in an accident. I don't know if it's my fault or not. I don't know. I need to get my vehicle fixed. So I was talking to people all the time. What that did, and I didn't realize it developed my people skills. Because I was that type of guy. I was shy. I'd go out, I'd play, I'd have fun playing, I'd come back and just be really reserved. So I worked hard with Progressive. And I was, within 2 years, I was promoted to a leader. I managed over 50 to 60 people across northern New England at one point. What it taught me was I know how to communicate better now. I know how to manage people. I know how to interact with people. My technical knowledge improved because I was working on computers all the time. So I had to get familiar with Microsoft Word. I had to get acclimated to Excel. And I have a point with this because with my business, my River Rats business, I use a lot of this stuff. We sample customer service results in claims. So we want to know, hey, how satisfied were you with the experience with Progressive, and why is that important? Why do you think it's important that someone has a good experience with us? I forgot to tell you, I'm going to try to make this interactive because I don't want to talk the whole time.
So they come back.
They come back, right. And out of all the policyholders with Progressive, only 15 to 20% of the policyholders actually have accidents. So my department really only interacts with 15% of all of our customers. So what we say is we want to make a memorable experience. We want to make a memorable experience so that when they go to renew, they say, man, they took care of us. And retention is huge, right? It costs us more to lose a customer and try to gain one. What are some of the expenses that we use to attract customers? Can you guys tell me? So if you think of Progressive, what are some things, how do you know about us?
Advertising.
Commercial.
Who's the person?
Flow.
Flo, right? And now Flo LeBron is, we got LeBron James in it. So it costs money to attract customers, right? So what we say is we want to keep customers. If our average policyholder stays with us 13 months, we try to think about how we can keep them for 15 months. Because when you spread out all of the customers we have across the country, if you can increase every single one by 3 months, you make a lot more money. And our goal with insurance, and this will bleed over to my River Rats thing, is we want to make 4 cents on every dollar. So when you pay a premium, who pays car insurance in here? Anybody? Your parents pay it? Okay. So let's just say you pay $1,000 a year. Right? $1,000 a year, we want to make 4 cents on every dollar of that. Right? 96% will go towards loss adjustment and bills. 4% we want to keep. Okay? So, I got into coaching probably 4 or 5 years ago. So I took a break from sports. And the reason why I took a break from sports is what I tell you. I wanted to concentrate on my career and make it as high up as I can. I wanted to make a lot of money, and I wanted to be able to provide for my family. So once my oldest started getting involved in sports, I coach with it. You guys familiar with like travel baseball or travel sports? They're all over the place, right? So me and another guy had an opportunity to coach in some of these organizations. And what we quickly found was, one, some of them weren't run the way that we would run them. They focused too much on the bottom line, on money. And the quality of the programming, what the customer was paying for, was astronomical. It was a lot. And there was no competition out there. So there was one organization that could, if you're the only organization around and you're charging a lot of money, it's not competitive, right? If someone wants to go there or play competitive baseball, they have to go there because they're the only play in town, and that's it. Now I'm going to get into how I built the River Rat, but what I want to ask you guys is what have you guys learned, or what in this class about sports management, what are some important things you've learned or maybe have questions on? Because as I go through how I built this, my kind of business, I want to know what you guys learned and what questions you guys have on. So this is the participation part. I know some of you might be nervous, but I just want to hear what you guys have learned about it.
Communication.
Yes, in communication with who? Customers?
Yeah.
Customers or employees, if you have employees, right? That's good. And what are different methods of communication? Well, I have an account on Facebook, right? So social media, absolutely. And I honestly, I hesitated to get involved in social media until I built this organization. What else? So communication's huge. I talked about not going in blindly, right? So I'm lucky enough where I started a business in an area that I know a lot about, right? My business partner is actually in the military. So he's a 25-year vet. He's been deployed 2 or 3 times to Afghanistan. He brings a unique thing to our organization, right? You think about the military, like structure, procedures, things like that, and that's what he brings to the table. I know that what I bring to the table is knowledge, right? When someone hears, hey, the River Rats organization and the guy that runs all of the baseball operations has 20 some odd years of baseball experience, played major league, played professional baseball for years. So I know that my role is to make sure I'm involved in all the baseball operations. So that means practices, clinics, things like that. People expect me to be there. So what else have you guys learned? Don't be shy. Ask a question. Tell me. What did you guys have a class? You guys learn certain things about sports management? I never took a class on it because I've kind of learned on the fly. But
so far, a lot of what we've talked about is exploring career options within sports. What are those career options?
Yep.
Talk a little bit about the history of sports
Yep.
management. How leagues and clubs and different
Yeah.
structure of sports management, as well as some of the sports marketing concepts.
Yes.
Is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We're about
Okay.
4 chapters
okay,
in.
so and I'm going to try to fit a lot of information in the next 15 minutes. I'm very passionate about this because I put in probably 45 to 50 hours a week just with my real job, okay? I probably put in 20 to 25 hours a week in this job, and that's managing the website, right? When we talk about communication, we made sure, when we thought about building this organization, so what we did 2 years ago, it wasn't a year and a half ago, what we said was, hey, there's a need for a better baseball organization in this area. We knew that because we took part in a couple of them. I coached in a couple of them. So I outlined their weaknesses, right? So one of the weaknesses was one of the organizations, I won't name names, they roster 13 to 14 players on their team, sometimes 15. So what happens when you have more players on a roster?
Less people play.
Right. So in games, I was coaching, and I had to balance putting in 15 kids. So 9 kids play at once in baseball, and I was getting some heat from the parents, right? And I was just the coach. I didn't have anything to do with this organization other than coaching. It was because my son played. So the number one thing I said when I built this organization, 12-person cap. So from 9 to U12, I'm not going to have more than 12 kids on a roster. Why do you think another organization would roster more kids?
More money.
More money. Absolutely. So when I say whatever you guys decide to do, you got to know your competition, right? Because if you're competitive like I am, I'm like, I want an advantage, right? So we roster 12 kids per team, period. 13s and 14-year-olds, a little bit different. We roster 13 because they play more games. We need more players. We need more pitches. The other thing that we did was, so games. So travel baseball, we have a heavy winter training program because what happens, January through March, we can't practice outside. So a lot of our costs are incurred with facilities, right? With this other organization, they practice once a week for an hour and a half, and that's it. So once a week, you have, 90 minutes to do fundamentals, throwing, fielding, pop-ups, and hitting. Sounds like a lot to do in 90 minutes, right? So the other thing that we said to ourselves, we said, hey, we need a heavier winter training program. We need more time. So this other organization practices probably for 20 hours a week. 20 hours for the whole winter training. So when they start and when they play games, they practice for about 20 hours. My organization has 45 hours of winter training. I do that because I think it's important, and I condense it over a smaller period of time. They get their 20 hours in from November till March, and they take breaks during holidays. So I'm saying, is that developing the kid? I don't think it is. So another one of my leverage points is, hey, we practice more over less of a time, so your kid actually benefits through proper instruction, repetition, things like that. The last thing that we kind of leveraged, other than price, was games. So you guarantee if you're going to spend, like the tuition fees, what do you think tuition fees are for like travel baseball? Like just throw out a number. What do you think?
$1,000?
Yeah, that's the lowest. So parents pay, if you're a parent of a child and you're paying $1,000 or $1,300, or for the sake of this other organization that we were poaching for, $1,700, right? They want to know how much practice time, how they structured, who are the coaches, right? Do the coaches have credentials? How many games are you going to play, right? Well, in this organization, it was very sporadic on how many games they played because the coordinator doesn't really stay in tune. The guy heading the thing doesn't. If someone cancels with a particular team, like if he has 8 to 10 teams he needs to keep track of in an organization, some played 11, some played 16. Would you be mad if you're a parent, pay $1,700, and your team played 12 games when you were guaranteed 20, 25? So the last thing we said was we're guaranteeing games, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen because it's important to me as the baseball director, and we're going to make sure it happens, right? So that's how we leveraged our position point when we entered the market. So last year was our first year. Our rival organization charged $1,700 per kid, okay? We came in, we said $850. $850 per kid, you're going to get 30 practices, you're going to get a guaranteed 20 to 25 games. But the one thing I had to do, when you build a cost, what do you think you have to do beforehand? Because there's a lot of risk on my part, right? If I'm telling somebody it's $850 per kid, and I get a lot of bills coming in. So what I pay for winter training, just for facilities, take a guess on how much I pay just for renting facilities to run my practices in the winter. Take a shot in the dark. I know you guys probably won't know, but. So I pay about $35,000 in just rental fees. So there's a big dome in Gorham we rent. There's the Riverside Athletic Center that we rent. So I got to put together an actual profit sheet. So I got to say, okay, $850 per player. That's what I'm going to collect, and I got to make sure I collect it, right? Some people that don't pay. So you got to go through and kind of sort it out. So the reason why we came in low, why would I come in low at $850? What's the main reason you guys think?
To attract more people.
Attract more people initially, right? Absolutely. It's a first year. I want people to be excited about our program. So we had certain fundraising goals that were mandatory. Like coming in, we needed fundraising in order to make that budget work. And guess what the competition did? No. So they heard parents are coming to our trials, going to their trials. Guess what questions they had? If we're marketing saying $850 per kid, more practices, guaranteed games, lower rosters, what do you think the questions the other person got? Right? Like how come you guys are charging double?
Yeah.
So what they had to do is they had to reduce their cost. So I do not own any facility. I run this and I don't own anything. So I have zero overhead, right? If you think of another organization, right? If you're running and you own a company, if you own a dome or a hitting facility, it's expensive. It's like $500,000 to do that. So I always knew that because there was no competition for this other group, they could charge what they wanted, and guess where that money went?
In their pocket.
In their pockets and to fund the facility, right? In the facility, if you don't run it right and you don't have other programs, right? They got really comfortable with charging that amount and being able to take some of that profit and move it and pay some of their bills in other places. The only thing I have to do is make sure I have good relations with facilities, right? I don't want to burn any bridges. Like I need a dome. If I need a dome, I can't burn a bridge with that dome, right? And that's part of the relationship building that I need to do. I need to go talk to them and what's in it for them, right? Hey, I'm going to practice here, but I'll run some clinics here too if you want. I'll make you guys some money. When's your slow time? Because I'll build some programs around that. So a lot of what I do is I need to build relationships with some of these places and make sure that they like me and that they continue to rent for me. So do you guys have any questions on any of that stuff? So what do you think I did this year? So that was my first year. My price went up. I purposely priced it at a point where I made no money. So my first year, zero money in my pocket. And I put in $500-600 worth of work, because I had a big picture. You guys talked about having a 2, 3, 5-year plan, right? So I have one, and part of it was I want people to know that when they come to us, it's value, right? So people will pay more if they feel like there's value there, right? If they think there's value there, they'll pay more. So this year we increased costs a little bit. We're still way below the competition. And we run clinics. So every time I run a clinic, so this travel program is one part of my business, right? But I still run hitting clinics. I've had over 400 or 500 kids participate in a hitting clinic, because I want to generate revenue outside of just this spring travel team, because that only gives me income from September till June, and that's it. So how do I make money? July, August, September, October. Well, part of it is doing other things, right? And the other thing I leverage, in which Mr. Heel brought up, is as a parent, and you guys, it might be hard to think of this right now, but like parents like it. School is a big part. Like I believe a lot in, and I learned a lot about needing to do well in school. So this other organization doesn't preach anything about school. We have a specific page on our website that recognizes people that make honor roll. We had study halls last year as part of our practices, right? So when you think about some important values that parents and customers are looking for, that's one of them, okay? The other thing that we're doing this year is we're teaming up with Outward Bound, because we want to teach leadership attributes to our players. Because we say, hey, baseball is important, but being successful and being a model citizen is more important. So we want to partner with some of these other companies that can offer that to our customers. And the reason why I do that, one, I believe in it. Two, no one else does it. So I have a competitive advantage versus my competition. They cannot offer a program like ours for our cost. And once you get to that point, like if you guys do own a business or run whatever you want, once you get to the point where your competition cannot replicate what you're doing, you're going to win. Like that's what you aim for. So we talked about communication. And like building email lists. Like I have to track whenever we have people registering online. I got to track those emails, because I got to find avenues in areas where I can get my information to. So if that's a mass distribution list for a clinic, or if that's social media, we get a Facebook account with over 500 people following us. So just for instance, I actually have an app on my phone, and that tells me how much, how many times my website's been on today, like how many people have been on it. So when I announce something, I instantly go to this app and see what kind of traffic it's generating. Because if it's generating a lot of traffic, I know that my communication was good. So I actually look at this quite a bit during the day. So like today, for instance, an average day, probably if I don't announce anything, an average day is like 25 to 30 hits. I take phone calls. I just before I got in here, I took a phone call from somebody that had a question on the program. But having a good website and then being able to monitor traffic, because I pay $600 a year for my website. So that's just another cost that I incur every single month. It's broken up monthly. But I need to make sure it's adding value to what we're doing. So I got to monitor exactly, how many people are going on, do I have the right website, things like that. So I know we don't have much time. Do you guys have any questions?
I had a quick question I wanted to ask, and maybe address this. You kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but what's your primary motivation in doing this?
Yep. My motivation, I absolutely love what I'm doing. So when I put 25 hours a week into my River Rats organization, yeah, see you later. I absolutely love it. If you can find something you love doing, what I like is, at work, like I have people that report up to me that have been with the company for 25 years. And I got to provide them with coaching. hey, you did well at this, right? Give them a high five. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna high five me, right? They've been in the job for a while. The thing that's exciting about working with youth is, especially in something that I'm passionate about, is the excitement and the success that they have, right? I get compliments, like I send out customer service surveys after every clinic I do. I learned that from my insurance job. So I want feedback, right? I ask them 3 questions. How likely are you to refer a friend or colleague? Because I want to know whether they'd actually recommend us to other people, because we said word of mouth helps you, right? It grows your business. It's like free advertising. So if you can impress somebody by running a good clinic and giving a lot of good feedback, they tell others. So then I don't have to spend much money on marketing. They'll just know about us. How satisfied were you with the clinic? And the base is up to 5. 5 being extremely satisfied or extremely likely to refer. And then the last one is just a comment section. Can you provide me with any positive or constructive feedback that you liked or would change about our program? So if they have a voice, like no one else does this. There's no other baseball facility that does this. And when they give constructive feedback, I know at that point, okay, is it something I look into? Is it something I change? Is it something I don't? But that also serves a good purpose. If they have good compliments there, put them on your website. You advertise that in social media because you want people to realize, hey, this is a good program. So honestly, one other thing, like I get emails from parents. Like we had an email from this kid from Scarborough. So he wasn't the most talented kid in the world. He came to all of our hitting clinics, listened, worked hard, made a lot of improvement. He didn't make the 12-year All-Star team. Like a lot of other kids from that same town that come with us did make it. He didn't. And he was questioning whether he should come back the next year. We had a long talk with the parents. And the comment from the dad was, he said simply, the River Rats are the best thing that's ever happened to him because it's given him confidence, not only in sports but in school as well. And that kid is coming back for another year, 13-year-old, because he's made so much improvement. And whenever he comes, he's happy. I know I've made an impact on him, and I know my coaches have too. So that's probably the most satisfying thing, is just seeing kids be happy, realize their potential. You know, and really, my first words typically at any clinic is, how's school going, right? Because I want them to know that I'm thinking about it, and it's a big part of our organization.
You guys notice, again, like I asked you yesterday when we had our guest speaker, what did Jason not talk about? Money. Okay. I can't stress that enough, right? Very successful people, okay, like Jason and others, they're not motivated by money. It's not, he's not doing this to make money and get rich. He's doing this because he's motivated by helping those kids, by making a difference. Regardless of a kid's talent level, and being an all-around organization. Athletics, academics, civic responsibilities, and family. All those things are kind of pillars of Jason's organization, and that's what's really important. That you do those things right, and the money comes. But that's, if your goal is to make $1 million, you're never going to do it.
No.
But if your goal is to make a difference, then that stuff will follow. Guys, please thank Jason on your way out.